Hey everybody, welcome back to the Daingeon. On today's episode, we're checking out a brand new projector from BenQ. This is the X300G. Stick around.
Nice to be in orbit.
All right, everybody. Like I mentioned before, we're checking out a brand new gaming projector from BenQ today. This is the X300G, but before we get started, make sure you hit that like and subscribe below. Now, I know I've reviewed a ton of BenQ projectors in the past, but this is a little bit different. So they're going to call this one a portable projector. It's very small, it's compact, it looks like its bigger brother, the X3000i. However, this one packs a pretty good punch for a small package, and I think the price is just right. So, if you're in the market for a brand new gaming projector, or you just want something to conveniently take around, maybe bring around your Nintendo Switch or portable gaming PC, this projector is a good one to keep an eye on. Follow me today as I go through all the specs and the cool features of this X300G, and I'll let you know if this is the projector for you. Thanks again for joining me here on the Daingeon, and let's get going. All right, some of the tech specs on the X300G we're going to go over right now. The first thing is this is a DLP projector, so it uses the color wheel, it spins. Its native resolution is still 4K, so 3840 by 2160, 8.3 million pixels, 2 stereo speakers with that 8-watt power behind both of them, gives it plenty of sound. You can crank it. As far as like noise level upon operation, so the fan speed or sounds coming from that device that aren't audio related, this thing puts out between 30 and 28 decibels between the highest power normal bright mode or the eco mode. So it's super quiet. And it doesn't get very hot either, because you got to remember this is an LED projector. You're not heating up a bulb. It takes like 20 seconds to power on and like 10 seconds to power off. It's super fast. This is a X series gaming projector, so this falls in line with the other X series projectors, such as the brand new X3100i, the original X3000, and then we also have a few others along their lineup that you can check out on their website. The X series gaming projectors pretty much come with similar features across the board. Obviously, the newest ones support a few new features. 3D, they have 8-watt stereo speakers, they have this real-time auto 3D keystoning, of course, 4K HDR, autofocus, wireless projection, and many of them support super short throw projection distances, including this one. Yeah. This also supports a DisplayPort through USB-C. So if you want to hook up like a gaming PC or your Nintendo Switch through USB-C, in the box you get your instruction manual, a couple batteries for the remote, your power cable. You also get the brand new BenQ remote, which is backlit, I might add. So that makes it real nice, especially when you want to have your projector in a dark setting. And then of course you get the brand new QS02 dongle, which does support Netflix. All right, so the X300G is a really nice looking cube projector. It's not your normal horizontal, flat, pancake style projector. This thing actually has some style to it. Comes in at about 8.3 inches wide by 7.1 inches high and 7.7 inches deep. And it weighs roughly 6.5 pounds. But it's really special looking because it has this futuristic look. As you can tell, you've got your cooling vents on the right and left side that lets air in and out. It's powered by a small receptacle for your power port, so it doesn't have to have a giant power pack built inside the projector. It actually comes as a power brick. This allows you to kind of hide that. It's also pretty cool because it has a few different inputs. It's got the HDMI, it's got the DisplayPort through USB-C, and it's also got all the features so you can toggle around on the different menu systems right up top. It makes it really easy to control, turn this thing on, and get you where you want to go. Your source button's up there, your power button's on there. your menu system, your back button. I mean, it's like your remote, but it's right on top of the projector. It also has these really sweet LEDs that light up, and I'll show you those a little bit later. But if you check out the bottom of the projector, that's also awesome. You've got a stand or a kickstand, if you will, that props up the front of the projector. So depending on where you set it and you want your image on the wall, it has two little feet at the bottom. It can be connected to a tripod with your standard tripod mount. The thing sounds really nice. It looks very appealing, and as you can see, it's very adjustable and flexible, so you can pretty much put it anywhere. I also mentioned the front of this thing is nice. It's got this rigid feel on the front with this gloss black finish. It also has those orange accents around the lens, that contrast between the white and the black. The lens is huge. It's that 4K X series lens that everybody's used to. And then to the left of that, you've got a couple different sensors. One of them's for eye protection. So if you walk in front of the projector, you can set it so it kind of shuts off and you don't blind yourself because it's super bright, an IR sensor. So all in all, like I mentioned before, it's kind of a baby X3000i, which I love that projector, and I would absolutely recommend that to anybody. This one looks even nicer. They've really progressed with their projection systems, and this cube format is only getting smaller, and the components are just as good. If you open up the back plate, you have the mounting spot through another HDMI port. This is a mini HDMI, and you can put this QS02 media dongle right into the back of the system, and it hides it away. So you don't have to have like a big Apple TV or Fire Stick sticking out from the side of this thing. It's all built in, and it's all functioning through the remote. Installation super easy. Pop off the back plate, plug it in, put that back plate right back on, and voila, you're ready to go. Plugging it in takes this power cord and the power brick, but it just plugs into a small power outlet on the bottom right hand side of the projector. So once it powers on, you'll notice at the top there's an LED light that lights up, and you're pretty much ready to go once it turns orange. It'll blink green for a second, and this thing starts up quick. I'm talking 5-10 seconds. Gives you some indicators with the LEDs on the outside, kind of a little cool gaming feature to it, and then boom, brightens right up. 2,000 ANSI lumens on this thing, so I'll get into that a little bit later. But here's the remote, and you can also check out that backlight feature that it has. For some reason, it doesn't stay on for too long, but not a big deal. As long as you can see what you're trying to press when the lights are off, you kind of get the idea here with the remote in the video. But you can see it on the left-hand side also. It has these really cool, like they almost look like ventilation intakes to like a starship, you know, or some type of like thrusters, but it gives it an awesome gaming look. So when you set this on like the shelf next to you or something like that, next to your Nintendo Switch or your PlayStation 5, you get that full gaming experience out of it. It does justice when you have the lights off. It's a really cool feature. I'm glad BenQ's doing stuff like this to really mainly to appeal to all the different gamers out there, because you know how we love LED lights and want to be really flashy with those components that we have. Setting this thing up, we're going to test it out here with the tripod. This is probably the easiest use case. If you have something that you can set it on where it has a little bit of adjustability, that just gives you more options to set up the X300G. So you'll see here, it was easy. You just set it on top, plug in your one power cable, and the thing boots right up. Adjustments can be made via the internal software, so you have a bunch of different functions through the UI, but for the most part, just put it on a tripod or some kind of bookshelf that's nice and level and stable, and you can set it right in front of you or right in your living room, and you can start gaming on it right away. Here I am setting up the projector. Like I mentioned before, it's on the tripod. I turned the lights off. There's a bunch of cool like auto keystoning features that this thing has. It even has like a super zoom, so not only do you not have to mess with like a physical dial, you can actually electronically zoom this projector so you can fill your screen from just like 6.5 feet away, and you can get like a 120-inch image. This is kind of another thing where you can pull in the corners. It's like a corner adjustment. And then of course, once everything gets set up, it's all within your projector screen size. You can jump right into that QS02 as part of the source menu, and you can start watching content. I was just going to show you guys a little bit of footage. This thing, like I said, is about 6.5 feet away from my 123-inch projector screen, and it looks great. It's plenty bright. All the lights are off in this image here, and you can just tell this thing is crisp. It has very good HDR and contrast, and even when I turn the lights to like 50% or 100%, I can still see this thing just fine. Now obviously you want to have all your lights off. It's a projector, that's the point. You get that movie theater experience. But if it's the middle of the day and you want to do some gaming, or you just can't control some of the light because somebody's behind you cooking dinner in the kitchen and they need to see, this thing still does really well. With the 50% lights, I think you get the best of both worlds, right? You still get that dark atmosphere that you need so you can game clearly, but at the same time, all those around you can get a little ambient light if they want to do something else in the meantime. All the features built into this thing are your standard BenQ setup, right? You have your picture mode, which includes your bright mode, your RPG mode, because remember, this is a gaming projector. It has all of these built-in modes under picture mode that you can select from. RPG, FPS, you have cinema, you have SPG, all the different gaming types or home theater types of reasons that you would want to change these. You can kind of notice in the background what it does to the picture. Now, for some reason, I couldn't get bright mode to look perfect, but I thought FPS was going to be great for my initial test. Not to mention, if you're playing a first-person shooter game, you can adjust the crosshair. It has this really cool built-in feature, so you can kind of like center it to the center of your screen. It also has game mode, which assists with like latency and things of that nature. You can still adjust your minor things like brightness, contrast, sharpness, but this thing really looks great with just like the basic out-of-the-box settings. Now, if you want to get into the more advanced settings, you can do stuff like select your gamma, your noise reduction, your HDR, and it has those 3 light source modes that we're used to: dynamic, normal, and eco. So this will help save, if you stay in eco mode, you know, the amount of hours that you put on your bulb, or it just brings that brightness down a little bit and maybe kicks the fans down just a tad as well so it's not very loud. But this thing isn't loud at all, so don't get that idea either. Here's some of the other aspect ratio options. You can select it to, you know, pick a source that you plug in automatically. So if you turn on your Nintendo and it'll just automatically boot up that source. You can have all your different power link settings. So it kind of works like a smart TV or a smart projector in that capacity. You just turn on your other device and it turns on the projector. And then on top of that, of course, you have all the other things that I mentioned before, all the different system settings, your installation, and then this information screen gives you what kind of output this thing is actually processing. So in this case, the game that I'm playing, 1920 by 1080, etc. The picture looks really good. Like I said, with a little bit of ambient light, you can still see the image super clear. Definitely something you can put on and still have a bunch of people around. But the main thing about this is the gaming, and I want to get into that now. I'm going to show you with some Super Mario Bros. Wonder. I have this set up. I ran it from the Nintendo Switch on my entertainment shelf there with an HDMI cable to the projector and started playing. Now this is a CLR screen, so it does help with a little bit of the ambient light. But this is with 100% lights on right here. It shows that vibrancy, that color. I was able to compete just fine. The latency was non-existent, honestly. I also wanted to test it out with my Steam Deck, and I plugged it right into that USB-C display port. Now, the reason I wanted to show you guys this is because there are some older games that run really well, considering the Steam Deck is a PC. And the projector is capable of doing a 1080p 240 hertz refresh rate. Now, I can't get the Steam Deck for the games that I showed you to do a 240 hertz refresh rate live, but I just wanted to show you that you can select it and it accepts that input. So that's something you can do with that DisplayPort cable that's different than any other projector that I've used. Now, obviously it's just in 1080p, it's not in 4K, but for the most part, these games were, meant for those 1080p, 720p, depending on how old they were. And you can get that solid 120 frames per second. Here's BioShock 2, one of my favorite games. You might not be able to tell too well because my camera only shoots in like 30 or 60 frames, but you can look at the top left. I easily got 120 frames per second. And like I said, it detected that resolution of 1080 and 240 hertz. So made it real nice. Then I also played a more modern game. I played Overwatch. Still, I was hovering right around 100 frames per second. So that made it great. This X300G is super capable. It does have real-time autofocus, which is a super nice feature. You pretty much just set it up somewhere and it focuses automatically based on the distance it sees to the projection screen. The concept, the design, it's really meant to be put anywhere within your living room or gaming space, right? So you can set it on a table. It has great auto keystoning and projection adjustment capabilities. So you can really set it somewhere, put it wherever you want, and get a huge image and still game at that low latency that it offers. It has a USB-C port, which can be used as a display port, which can support things like 240 hertz refresh rates. And it also has an HDMI 2.0 port on the side with eARC support for Atmos and 7.1 audio. Another one is going to be the stereo sound. I mean, it's built-in sound, so if you're taking it with you, let's say you go on a trip or someplace that you want to travel where they don't have a theater set up, this thing packs that sound system right into the projector. So you have your visual experience with the projector, you have your sound experience, and then all you got to do is plug in your gaming console. But even if you don't bring your gaming console, you still have that QS02 media stick built in. So like, this is an all-in-one package and it's portable, and you really only have to carry one thing, the projector and then a cable to power it. So, okay, two things, but it's one package. It's really sweet. Some of the other key features designed around the gaming side of things, with 4K 60 hertz input signal, so like a PlayStation 5, you can get 16.7 milliseconds of input lag. At 2K or 1440 with 120 hertz, you can get 8.3 milliseconds, so it brings it down almost half. Then you start getting into the 1080p ranges. At 1080p 60 hertz, it bumps back up to 16.7 milliseconds, which is still really good. And at 1080p 120 hertz, you can get 8.7 milliseconds input lag. But if you have a capable PC with that display port, you can get that 1080p 240 hertz signal to drop that latency down to 4.2 milliseconds. That's awesome for competitive games across the board. People that play like Call of Duty or Overwatch, Rocket League, games that have a very competitive atmosphere behind it, even Fortnite, they require a low input latency, and this projector delivers, especially if you can run a PC to it. If you've heard of auto low latency mode, like most TVs are starting to come out with as a feature, this is the feature that can optimize input lag when you play, and moreover, it can memorize different settings. In other words, it can remember picture related parameters and then auto switch to those settings, and they can be saved to like different consoles. So there's like 3 selections you can make, and you can do different auto low latency modes for each gaming console or gaming style. Okay, so all in all, what are my feelings on this projector? Well, I love it. I think it's a great portable projector option. I'm going to take it with me wherever I can. All you got to do is find a blank wall. Find a blank wall, put the projector someplace where it's kind of just out of the way or not too far from you so you can listen to the sound that comes out of it as well. And you have your little theater in a box right there with you. So it's a very convenient projector. Now, is this a home theater projector? Does this replace or fit into your home theater with a sound system and all that. No, I'm not going to go that far. This is literally for the people that love having a projector experience or a big screen anywhere where that they go, but it's not replacing your home theater projector. BenQ makes tons of other projectors, and you should check them out on their site for like dedicated home theaters where you're going to mount them to the ceiling and it's going to stay there for a long period of time. This thing is something that you take with you. You take it to your friends. You take it somewhere so you can watch the game. You take it to a tailgate, so you just plug it into your, your car's outlet and you watch the pregame or whatever. So it's meant for like that travel purpose, that portability purpose. And I really like that BenQ was able to put all of those features into like a 7x7 cube, right? It makes it super convenient. It's really quiet. It doesn't get hot. It's super bright, and you can, plug a ton of stuff into it. So yeah, I'm giving this projector a huge thumbs up. It's something that I really thought that they, were going to do at some point based on the other small projectors I've tested with them. They've just worked and worked to get that technology into a nice form factor and really succeeded with the X300G. The last thing I want to talk about is just the pricing. The price that it costs to get into a projector with all of these features is typically going to be around like $3,000 in most cases. Now, you're not going to get all of the features that maybe a dedicated home theater projector for $3,000 would cost, and rightfully so. But for $17.99, and this thing just came out with 4K, HDR, low latency, you can put it anywhere and you can still get a 120-inch screen with great brightness. $17.99 is an awesome price. Thanks again to BenQ for sending out the X300G. I'm going to really enjoy playing on this thing. I hope you enjoyed this review. If you have questions, make sure you leave them in the comments below. If I missed something, make sure you also leave that in the comments below. Thanks for joining me here at the Daingeon. Stay tuned for more content, and I'll talk to you guys next time.